Breaking news as Manchester United's Baleba deal is off or has been called off. Manchester United made an official and formal contact with Brighton today, and that's pretty much yesterday as we got the news that as expected, right, for Carlos Baleba. The clear answer from Brighton, according to Fabrizio Romano, is that they have no intention to sell, not even indicating a price for this summer. Man United are now expected to turn their attention to different targets. Now, another scenario with regards to this, like what other reporters are saying, like Ben Jacobs and like Simon Stone, because Simon Stone also said the same, said that Man United is pivoting to other targets and all of that. What does this mean for Man United? Because the truth is, I know that everybody really wanted Carlos Baleba to come to Man United. He's currently playing with Brighton against Fulham. Yeah, playing Brighton against Fulham. But Simon Stone also reported, this was 7 hours ago, now, Man United have confirmed that they are scrapping the policy of players arriving at Old Trafford 4 hours before kickoff. That is another story. We're going to now Baleba booked for next summer. Then amidst competition, regardless, we can't leave the midfield as it is. This is from a United fan who's talking about everything football. But we're going to kind of find what Simon Stone was really saying about the whole Baleba situation. He said Brighton are not budging on Baleba, so Man United are stepping back. And that is according to Simon Stone of the BBC. He said Man United have called off Man United have called off their pursuit of midfielder Carlos Baleba as things stand, with Brighton remaining resolute in their stance that the player is not leaving the club. No formal bid was made for the 21-year-old. I like this, and I like this idea that Man United are taking, this stance that Man United are taking when we're talking about midfielders, right? They literally say, oh, we will not bid for any player unless we get the green light from the player, particularly even in situations where we need to get a green light from the club as well. If the options are not, clear, we will definitely not go. And that is basically what we could. I mean, Simon Stone has been known to be reliable for anything that relates to Manchester United, and so if Man United is not sure that something will happen, they will not go. And rumors, despite the fact that rumors had already been circling with regards to Man United putting a first bid for Carlos Baleba, but no formal bid was made for the 21-year-old, according to Simon Stone. But United made inquiries around the potential cost of signing him and whether Brighton would let him leave. Sources have always stressed that Brighton do not want to sell, and on Friday, head coach Fabian Hosler said that he was very, very, very confident the Cameroon international would stay at the club. United have now accepted the cost of getting Brighton to change their stance would be too expensive and have backed away for now, with sources stressing that the situation will not change before the transfer window closes on 1st of September. So anything can happen. But Ruben Amorim's side hosts Arsenal on Sunday, as we all know. But United are now assessing their midfield situation with Sporting captain Morten Hjulmand as a player that Amorim knows well, likely to be available. Now, talking about midfield targets that Man United want to make available. I mean, our midfield is so thin, like we literally have few players in that midfield position. Recently, what's his name? Recently, Toby Collier was sent on loan to West Bromwich Albion. So like we have a whole lot going on, and one of the midfield options that have been talked about with regards to Man United is Morten Hjulmand. And in truth, that's because he's linked to Man United because he's played under Amorim before, right? Now, if we look at it from the perspective of what Amorim would want, he wants a midfield engine, right? He wants someone who will actually fill up the midfield spot and, sort out things with regards to how we play, how we defend and all of that. But, Hjulmand, 26-year-old defensive midfielder and Danish international, has been known to be a midfield engine, has played under Ruben Amorim, and all of that. So it is pretty much very interesting where this goes. With regards to the Carlos Baleba, and basically the report is that Man United open talks with Brighton via intermediaries in the hope of securing the 21-year-old, right, in at the beginning of August as well. So if we're looking at the fact that Baleba was reportedly open to the move, and his price tag was around £100 million, following a summer of heavy spending by Man United, which meant that the deal could be very difficult. And I also think that part of the things that made this deal difficult is outgoings. We have not really had any movements with regards to outgoings, so it's a bit difficult to kind of gauge where we are at and what we plan to do and all of that. So if we're going to talk about other midfield targets that Man United could go for that are pretty much available, we have Aston Villa's Amadou Onana. It was actually a United target before he signed for Aston Villa. He turns 24, or he's already 24 today. And then we have another player in the person of, like I said earlier, Montem Human as well, 26-year-old. So we're looking at tall midfielders who can actually do the job, right, as required, right? And then who else again? There's another player who Man United can actually go for, and that is Lucas Bergvall, Tottenham Hotspur's player, right? Now, he's a Swedish international, a two-time trialist with United. Firstly, he was with If Bromapo Kana in 2020 at 15 before he scored. Before his second trial in 2022, shortly after he turned 16. But the turnover of United's recruitment staff in 2022 saw him slip through the cracks, ultimately paving a way for the 19-year-old to arrive at Spurs from Djurgården in February 2024. And as fate would have it, Bergvall's numbers indicate that he's a solid Baleba alternative. Montem Human is not a like-for-like replacement for Carlos Baleba, but Bergvall seems to be one of those, according to stats anyway. And then there's the Mateus Fernandes. Mateus Fernandes, unlike the rest of the names on the list, Mateus Fernandes could be far more easily attainable due to no longer playing in the top flight. However, a look at the numbers behind the 21-year-old makes interesting read for Southampton star. I remember we talked about this Mateus Fernandes as a very aggressive player for Southampton last year, and he seemed to come off with the goods with his stats and all of that. Another person is Felix Mecha. Felix Mecha represents the exact type of player United have signed this summer in terms of age. 24-year-old German international who signed for Borussia Dortmund in 2023 for 26 million, coming through the youth ranks of Man City, and has already been linked with United by German outlet Bild. In March, it was claimed that Red Devils were prepared to make an offer worth £41 million to land him. His time at both Dortmund and City handed him experience in Champions League, a level of play United are aiming to return next season. So Felix Mecha as well is another good alternative. I've reported Felix Mecha, I've reported Montem Human as players that Manchester are potentially interested in, and all of that. So these are the things we've basically not really we've not really had outs this season. We've ended up signing Brian Mbumo, we signed Matheus Cunha, we've signed Diego Leon, and we signed Benjamin Sesko, but we still haven't had an out. We haven't had players leave. If players are leaving as players are coming, that will be, as players are coming in, that will even be an option. Then if we're looking at homegrown solutions, like from within, the club has invested heavily in the academy with it paying dividends in the youth levels through a highly successful under 18 setup. And there's also the conundrum of 20-year-old Kobe Menu, basically where he fits in Amorim's system and all of that. The questions I've brought to you, full kind of player profile about Kobe Menu and all of that, but you can see the kind of player he is and the kind of player that he can be. He's excellent with the ball carrying, and is rarely dispossessed when under pressure, which makes him a huge asset for bringing the ball out of the back. But the concern around him is the tackling prowess. Yet Menu's numbers are not too far from the 1.558 tackles per 90 compared to Baleba's 1.55 tackles per 90. With United playing just one game a week for the majority of the season, a Menu renaissance by making him the core of the midfield could also be all that United need to solve their issues. But Amorim could need to have faith in the Carrington graduate for that to happen. So Menu is an option, but we are still light, we're still thin in the midfield. So we need at least one player to. I mean, we've let go of Eriksen in the midfield. We've also sent to be called on loan. Now, we haven't even had a situation where we have a full stack of midfield players that can play in that position. Amorim is confident in the Premier League in his pre-match press conference about the fact that we have players who can play in that position, including Mason Mount and stuff. But with Kobe Menu, you might need a strong player who can defend as well and tackle like Manuel Ugarte. But Manuel Ugarte has had ups and downs with his play in mid and all in attack and all of that. The same thing for other players, including Casemiro, who is actually not really hitting the heights because obviously he's coming to the end of his career. So we need to think about these kinds of things and know what are the possible options. For me, I feel Matam Human will be a good addition to the squad. He's 26. I mean, just about coming to his peak. He's played on Amorim, so he understands the system and will be able to lead others from the back. Another player that could do it is the Villarreal player. The name skips my mind, but it is what it is. But we need to look for alternatives to be able to achieve success with the midfield and all of that. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about this one. Even Ben Jacobs has reported similar with regards to that, just to give you kind of like a summary of what has been happening. Ben Jacobs has also said the same thing with regards to Baleba, saying that Man United have pulled out of the deal and they intend to pivot to other attackers or other options of players that can be signed in regards to players that will suit Manchester United's playing style and the midfield and the lack of midfielders. Ben Jacobs said that Man United will not place a formal offer. This was before Brighton turned us down. Manchester United will not place a formal offer for Carlos Baleba following club to clubs. United remain keen to sign Baleba, but giving no encouragement. Brighton owner Tony Bloom has made it clear that he wants to keep Baleba until the summer of 2026, at least the summer of 2026. Brighton also believe Baleba will eventually be worth as much as Moisés Caicedo, who was signed for £150 million. And then also, as reported yesterday, Manchester United made club-to-club contact to understand whether Brighton's not for sale stance was genuine. But Brighton made it clear that they did not wish to sell. No asking price was ever quoted. Brighton rarely offer a price, especially for players they wish to keep. Deal always complicated on club to club, despite an openness to join from Baleba. But Man UFC intend to try and ultimately do some legwork in case they return next summer. So it was important that we planted those seeds and hopefully expect that Baleba will be sold to Man United. So let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section about all of this, the whole Baleba situation and all of that. Do you think Man United should pivot to other targets and put them in place? Seeing as a midfielder's thing. If we're going to look at Sekou Kone, right now I think he's injured, but then Sekou Kone could have been an option, but he's still, I think Amorim sees him as still young, doesn't have the experience. I know we can try him, but it will be important if we basically try from within. But we need those experiences. We need players that can grow under the current crop of players that we have. So let me know some feelings in the comment section about all of this, the whole Baleba situation and all of that. Let's continue to build momentum from here. Thank you so much for liking, sharing and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. We're going to keep building, we're going to keep growing together, and we're going to keep building momentum and growing this community as we plan to do. So yeah, Baleba deal is off. Man United needs to pivot to other options, and as time goes on, when we hear any news, we'll bring you the news, especially those in the short list. There's the the Ederson Atlanta deal. They said Manchester United are also considering that one. There are other midfield targets that Man United are also intending to sign. I saw a report one day that somewhere on X that mentioned the list of 3 players or so: Human, Ederson, and one other player that Man United were Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. That Man United were targeting. I saw another news that Man United are making inquiries about Adam Wharton, and basically we're going to hear further as time goes on. We're going to hear further on the Adam Wharton situation, but then it is what it is. We have to just keep believing and keep hoping. So the news is that Man United will make firm inquiries for Adam Wharton, Motem Humans, and Ederson's. Atlanta's Ederson are also on the short list, and that's according to Indy Kyler. So it is what it is. We have to just keep the positive mindset and just hope that Man United signs a midfielder that will solve the problem of our midfield. That is what it is. Indy Kyler says Man United will make firm inquiries about Adam Wharton, first choice, Montem Human of Sporting Lisbon, and Ederson of Atalanta on the shortlist. News break. The information has come from the same source who provided the Man United interest in Carlos Baleba. So, that is what it is. We're gonna just keep it positive and hope that Man United would, secure a deal for a good midfielder that can solve our problem. So, thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as we build community. The Premier League is back, and we'll be back with match reviews. Hopefully, Man United beat Arsenal. So, thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.